Welcome to Shad's Guitar Show. Whether it's the gear or the players who made the gear famous, join me each episode as we discuss all things guitar. Well, hello my friends, welcome into yet another exciting episode of Shad's Guitar Show. As always, I am so glad you're joining me for this episode, where we are going to dive into a little bit of understanding about single coil pickup noise. We've all heard the term 60 cycle hum, and I've alluded to this in other episodes, I believe, but I really wanted to take a little bit of a dive into why single coil pickups are noisy, just so even though we all know they are, we can kind of understand why it is, and you might actually be able to dazzle a guitar playing friend with this information down the road. So a little bit of an informative episode on 60 cycle single coil pickup hum. All right, first things first, let's talk about what a single coil pickup actually is, because the hum is baked right into the design. A single coil pickup is, at its most basic, a magnet wrapped in copper wire. You've got a row of pole pieces, those little cylindrical magnets you see poking up through the pickup cover. And around those magnets, a very thin wire is wound thousands of times. For instance, on a vintage Stratocaster pickup, we're talking somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 turns of 42 AWG gauge wire. That's a lot of wire in a very small space. Now here's the key principle. A magnetic field plus a moving conductor equals electricity. That's Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, discovered in 1831, and it is the entire reason electric guitars exist. When your guitar string vibrates, and the string is steel, so it's magnetic, it disturbs the magnetic field around those pole pieces. That disturbance induces a tiny alternating current into the coil. That current travels down your cable into your amp, gets amplified, and comes out of the speaker as sound. Beautiful, simple, elegant. But that same coil of wire that picks up your strings vibrations, well, it picks up everything else too. Here's where the hum comes in. We live in an environment absolutely saturated with electromagnetic fields. Every piece of electrical wiring in your walls, every transformer in your building, every fluorescent light above your head, well, they're all radiating electromagnetic energy. And in North America, the electrical grid runs on 60 hertz. In Europe and most of the rest of the world, it's 50 hertz, which is why European players talk about 50 cycle hum instead. But 60 cycle means the AC current in your walls is oscillating, switching directions 60 times per second. That oscillation radiates as an electromagnetic field at 60 hertz. Your pickup coil, sitting there doing its job, intercepts that field and converts it into 60 cycle electrical signal. That signal goes into your amp right alongside your guitar signal, gets amplified just like your guitar signal, and comes out of the speakers as that characteristic low buzz. There's also harmonics of 60 hertz, 120 hertz, 180 hertz, and 240 hertz, and those get picked up as well, which gives the hum its slightly complex, almost musical quality. It's not a pure sine wave, it's got character. The biggest culprits in most rooms are transformer-based devices. Dimmers, computer monitors, power supplies, fluorescent lights are notorious. Some players will literally turn in circles on stage trying to find an angle where the hum is least severe, because the pickup's orientation relative to the source actually matters. Now let's talk about why the coil is so susceptible to this. The single coil pickup acts as an antenna, and a very good one, unfortunately. Here's the physics. Any loop of wire in a changing magnetic field will have a current induced into it. The larger the loop, or the more turns of wire, the stronger the induced current. Single coil pickups have thousands of turns, wound around a fairly large area. They're optimized accidentally for picking up 60 hertz hum. The impedance of a single coil pickup is relatively high, typically somewhere around 6,000 to 8,000 kiloohms for a standard Strat pickup. High impedance circuits are more susceptible to induced noise because the noise signal, even though it's tiny, represents a larger fraction of the signal than an amp can respond to. Think of it this way. If you're trying to hear someone whisper in a quiet room, even a small background noise becomes intrusive. If they're shouting, the same background noise is irrelevant. Single coil pickups are, relative to the rest of the signal chain, working in that whisper range for the noise component. Okay, so if this is such a known problem, why doesn't someone just fix it? Well, someone did. In 1955, Seth Lover, an engineer at Gibson, invented the humbucker, and the solution he came up with was genuinely clever. Instead of one coil, use two, wind them in opposite directions, and wire them electrically out of phase with each other. Here's what that does. Both coils are exposed to the same electromagnetic hum from the environment. But because they're wound in opposite directions and wired in reverse polarity, the hum signal, which is identical in both coils, cancels itself out. The signal subtracts, and you have silence. But the guitar string signal, that's different. The magnets in the two coils are also reversed relative to each other. So while the hum cancels, the actual guitar signal adds. You get double the output and none of the noise. It's an elegant engineering solution. Except, and here's the thing, humbuckers don't sound like single coils. They can't. Two coils in series means higher inductance, more capacitance, and different frequency response. The top end rolls off more, the mid-range gets fatter. You lose that glassy, cutting, almost spiky treble character that makes a Strat sound like a Strat. So you pay for the silence with a different tone. And a lot of players, blues players, country players, surf and indie guitarists, look at the trade and say, no thanks, I'll deal with the hum. Alright, so let's talk about some of the modern workarounds, because there are a few, and they vary in how much they compromise your tone. First off is shielding. So you can line the cavities of your guitar with copper foil or conductive paint. This creates a Faraday cage, a conductive enclosure that blocks external electric fields from reaching the electronics. It helps with some types of interference, especially electrostatic hum, but it's less effective against magnetic field induction, which is the main mechanism we've been talking about. Stacked hum canceling single coils. These are pickups that look like single coils, but have two coils stacked vertically inside the housing. They cancel hum like a humbucker, but fit in a single coil-sized route. They've gotten a lot better over the years. Companies like Kinman, Suhr, and Fender own noiseless lines that have made these increasingly convincing, but purists will tell you they just still don't quite nail the real thing. The middle position trick. On a Strat, positions 2 and 4 on a 5-voice switch, the in-between positions combine two pickups, the neck and middle pickups, or the middle and bridge pickups. Because those coils are generally wound in opposite directions, the hum cancels itself in those positions. Active electronics. Some players run buffers or preamps that lower the impedance of the signal early in the chain, making it less susceptible to noise pickup. This works, but it changes the feel and the way the pickup interacts with your amp. Just turning down. Seriously, at lower volumes the hum is less audible, and at least less intrusive. A lot of studio players manage hum through mic placement, gates, and just keeping levels sensible. Okay, so now I want to end on something a little philosophical. There's a reason that after nearly 70 years of engineering solutions, millions of guitarists still play unshielded, buzzing single coils. And it's not ignorance, it's not stubbornness. Well, maybe it's sort of stubbornness, but mostly it's become tone is a holistic thing. That 60-cycle hum isn't just noise, it's part of the texture of certain kinds of music. Listen to early blues recordings, the classic country, to jangly indie rock. That hum is in the room. It tells you something. It tells you that this is a real instrument being played in a real space. It has an aliveness that squeaky clean digital processing can never fully replicate. Buddy Holly's Stratocaster hummed. Hank Marvin's hummed. John Frusciante's hummed. And the records they made don't sound diminished for it. And one of the best examples I can give you of this Go and listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of Little Wing from the Sky is Crying album. You can hear his amp, his guitar buzzing, and if you close your eyes, you almost feel like you're in the room with him while he's recording in the studio. It's a beautiful sound, and if the engineers had found a way to get rid of that external noise, it wouldn't have the same weight and impact, at least in my opinion. So the next time your single coil pickup starts to hum near a fluorescent light, don't reach for the volume knob right away. Take a second to appreciate it. That's Faraday's law singing through your speakers. That's the grid. That's the 60-cycle heartbeat of the electrical world. And then, go find a better spot to stand. All right, if you got something out of and enjoyed this episode on why 60-cycle hum and single coil noise occurs, please make sure and share it with a guitar playing friend. And before you do anything else, wherever you're listening, take a second to leave me a 5-star review. That is incredibly helpful to the show and helps people know that it's worth listening to. And I hope you feel that way, because I really, really enjoy making these episodes. So, make sure you leave that review. And also, when you're over on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to Shad's Guitar Show. And when you're on Instagram, follow the show, Shad's Guitar Show, on Instagram. And if you dig the show, I think you'll find some interesting content on these platforms as well. And as always, if you'll continue to listen, I'll continue to make content about all things guitar.